Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and coming up on today's show, we're going to be looking at some winners and losers for the Las Vegas Raiders this offseason. Because it's the offseason, we've talked about so many players that the Raiders could draft, so many players that the Raiders could potentially sign. The only people that I'm talking about on today's show are players that were a part of this Raiders organization last season, and because of all the moves Pete Carroll and John Spytek have made on both the offense and the defensive side of the football, from those names, I'm going to tell you who's the biggest winners and who the biggest losers are. And the reason why that I'm doing this is because the Raiders offseason workouts, they begin today, April 8th. And the fact that football is slowly but surely coming back, I don't know about you, I'm super excited to see what this regime is going to be able to do. And if you're excited as well, hit that like button. If you're also looking for Raiders offseason news analysis, because it's easy to talk about news like, I don't know, the Raiders are moving on from Jack Jones. Hell, we could have probably put Jack Jones on this video to be a loser because we knew that they were going to move on from him. And the reason why that I'm bringing that up is because over the past 24 hours, the amount of Raiders fans that seemed very surprised that the Silver and Black were moving on from Jones shocked me because of how often I would talk about it on this show that the Raiders are going to either trade or cut Jones before the NFL draft, and that shouldn't surprise you. If that's the type of content that you're looking for, then that's why you should subscribe to the Raiders Report. So the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to go from winners on offense, and then I'm going to go to the losers on offense, and then I'm going to go to the losers on the winners on defense, and then we're going to finish this out with the losers on defense as well. So coming up here, Tre Tucker at number 5. These are also ranked, which is very important to say. At number 5 is Tre Tucker for our off-season winners list, and I say that because as it stands right now, Tucker's the wide receiver 2 behind Jakobi Meyers. I will also say you cannot sleep on Kyle Phillips. He was the very first recruit that Chip Kelly ever had. But the fact that Geno Smith is the QB that Tucker's going to have now, you combine that with just the opportunity that Tucker has as it stands. I do believe that the Raiders are going to be a team that goes out and drafts a wide receiver. Hell, they better draft one or at least 2. But when you look at this team as it stands right now, the fact that the Raiders haven't added another receiver in NFL free agency tells me that Tre Tucker is a winner. Let's go to number 4 here for our Raiders offseason winners. It's Jordan Meredith. Meredith was a player that this team decided to bring back this offseason, and the reason why Meredith is just such a clear winner to me is because, yes, he was re-signed, but also Spytek said earlier this offseason, when you look at the interior offensive line battle, it's between Alex Kappa, JPJ, Dylan Parham, and Jordan Meredith. The fact that this guy has a chance to start at left guard, that alone makes Meredith a winner. Somebody who had one of the higher PFF grades across the entire NFL on the offensive line. Now, the reason why I'm also going to put Meredith up here is because I don't know exactly what's going to happen with Dylan Parham. Like, what if the Raiders decide to start Alex Kappa? I don't think that necessarily means that right away Parham's going to be the starting left guard. This is a regime that does like what Meredith brings, and they made him a priority by bringing him back. Let's go to number 3 here on our winners list. It's going to be DJ Glaze. And I know that this regime did not draft Glaze. However, Glaze was on Spytek's radar last offseason. And I say that because DJ had a top 30 visit with the Buccaneers and Spytek. That is going to be something that could be a little bit of a cherry on top, if you will. If the season were to start today, he would be the right tackle. Spytek said that he's the right tackle. He also went on ahead and said, well, you know how much I like offensive linemen. Despite not drafted by this regime and the fact that nobody on the offensive line this team signed, they could have signed another right tackle. The Raiders still might be able to go out and draft somebody, but DJ Glaze is somebody that this team likes a lot, and we always say Spytek is somebody that values the trenches. Well, if he values the trenches and he still keeps DJ there at starter, that makes him a winner. Let's go to number 2 here. It's going to be Brock Bowers at tight end. And the Bowers one of why he's a winner is really simple. His name's Geno Smith, and Geno Smith is an upgrade over Gardner Minshew, over Aiden O'Connell, and when you consider the fact of how good Bowers was last season, and now you're giving Bowers Chip Kelly and a better QB, that's an amazing factor there. Also, last season, out of the 36 tight ends that qualified for the amount of target share that was needed to qualify for this stat, Bowers was 29th out of 36 in accurate tight end targets. What's interesting about that is Geno Smith is the number one most accurate quarterback the past 4 years in the NFL, according to Warren Sharp. So knowing that Bowers put up the numbers that he did and he was still seeing the 29th out of 36 best targets, imagine now when he gets a quarterback that can actually put it on his numbers. Brock Bowers not even about to be. He's already that freaking dude, man. So go down in the comment section. It's going to be the pinned comment on today's show. Who is the Raiders' biggest winner this offseason on offense? Spoiler alert. I'm going to ask you this exact same question, probably coming up here in about 10 minutes on the defensive side of the football. But this is about offense and offense only. My answer is going to be coming up right here after this YouTube ad break. The biggest winner for the Las Vegas Raiders on the offensive side of the football, it's probably not that big of a surprise to you, but it is wide receiver Jakobi Meyers. Myers has an opportunity to be the number one receiver in an offense with a quarterback like Geno Smith that fits exactly the type of receiver that Jakobi is. Not only that, he's in a contract year. The fact that he's got $0 million guaranteed, if I was the Raiders, and I think that this actually could happen, they try to give him a contract extension before the season even starts. But if that doesn't happen, you get Geno Smith in a contract year, and Myers did not have a single drop last season. Can we not, appreciate how incredible that is that Jakobi did not drop a football one time last season? Also, he was 63rd out of 103 in accurate wide receiver target rate. When you consider the fact that Geno is as accurate as what he is, and then you look at the skill set of somebody like a Jackson Smith and Jigba, you combined all of those things, and I could really see Jakobi having a career year. I don't know if he's going to put up 87 catches again. That's a very high target share and receptions, but I do anticipate him to be somewhere around 70 catches. I'm hoping that he's somewhere again around 1,000 yards, but I do think Myers could be closer to 8, potentially 9 touchdowns for the Las Vegas Raiders. Coming up next here, we're going to talk about some of the offseason losers on the offensive side of the football, and I'm going to do a better job just concentrating more on the winners and quickly rolling through some of the losers here because it is the offseason after all. Before I get into that, you're a real loser if you don't use Game Time, especially when you're trying to get tickets. The easiest way that you can show love to the Raiders Report is by showing love to our official ticket sponsor, Game Time. And I know that football season is not here, but I love this time of the year because playoffs for NBA, NHL. What about baseball? That's finally back. If you're trying to go to your favorite sporting events, Game Time is the app for you. And you can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. I've used Game Time for the past few years, and I can tell you, I use it for MLB. I've used it for NBA games. I've used it for NFL games, preseason. Heck, you've also heard Chugs and I talk about the time we went to a Drake concert. One of the things that I would love to be able to do is go to a Vegas Golden Knights game for playoffs, because I'll always say, I'm not the biggest fan, I'm not going to lie to y'all, watching hockey on TV. It's fun. Playoff hockey, I'll watch on TV. Going to watch hockey in person? Dude, it's almost as electric as an Oakland Black Hole tailgate, man. Because when you see that up close in action, that's what it's all about. And you might not remember the score, but you're going to have those memories for a very long time. And the other thing that I love about Game Time is I love a good deal. And you're going to be able to get the good deal with the super deal. Also, that last-minute tickets, the zone deals, easy to find and buy, all sorts of prices out there for your tickets. Also, maybe something else that I love, and maybe my favorite thing about Game Time, is the Game Time picks. You can actually save up to 60% off by buying last minute for sports, concert, comedy, theater. Game Time picks makes last-minute ticket buying easier than ever by quickly highlighting the best deals in the stadium. So one more time here, terms apply again. Create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, that's CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. So let's get in here now, some of the losers on the offensive side of the football this offseason for the Las Vegas Raiders. And coming in here at number 3 is going to be somebody that, I'm going to be honest, I don't know if he's a loser or not. But I'm putting him in here because I thought Dylan Parham would be a starting offensive lineman for the Las Vegas Raiders this upcoming season. In my mind, it was easily JPJ is going to play center, and then Parham's either going to play left guard, he's going to play right guard. When you listen to Spytek, doesn't really sound like that is set in stone yet. And I get it. Pete Carroll, this organization, they want to always put guys up against each other and go out there and compete. But the Raiders also signed Alex Kappa. a John Spytek guy. So Parham's not committed to be a starter, wasn't drafted by this regime. In the final year of his contract, I'm just saying, Parham could be a loser this offseason. Let's go to number 2 here, and it's going to be Thayer Munford, another offensive lineman, because I like Munford. And I've liked Munford for the past few years, though he had a really, really rough ending to last season. But I do fear for him that he's going to be forgotten about on this O-line. And I say that just a few weeks after Spytek mentioned a lot of people on this O-line. And, Munford's name wasn't mentioned at all. Quite frankly, I would say he's probably the 7th, maybe the 8th overall offensive lineman on the Raiders at the time that I am making this video on April 7th, April 8th, however you want to look at it. And knowing that the Raiders are probably going to draft at least one offensive lineman, I would say they draft one lineman out there. Then you're going to put him on that bubble. And if he's on that bubble, they're not going to keep Munford over Alex Kappa, over a Jordan Meredith, over a Dylan Parham. Munford needs to battle for everything he's got this year, and it sounds like he's already behind the 8 ball when it comes to him going up against DJ Glaze. Let's go to the number 1 loser, though, and it is Zamir White. Oh, Zamir, I really wish that this could have worked out in a little bit of a better way, but the way that I would talk about Zamir is the exact same way I would talk about Jack Jones. Like, there were times you go, man, this kid's really good. And then you go, well, the inconsistency, the inability to hang on to the football, new regime, I don't see why the Raiders would hang on to Zeus. Also, one of the other notes that I found that I loved, because if you were to ask me, who are some running backs on this team that could be on their way out? I would have said Zamir White. I would have said Dylan Laulu as well. However, though, Laulu had a top 30 visit with the Buccaneers and John Spytek last season. So if I'm this organization and I go, well, if it's between Zamir White and Dylan Laulu, I think they actually might keep Laulu because of that. Also, the Raiders signed Raheem Mostert, and it's expected to draft a running back or two this upcoming season because of how bad somebody like Zamir White was last season. The Raiders had the worst rushing attack in the league last year, and Zamir was their starter for a small portion. That's why you're a big loser, Zamir. Coming up next here, we're going to get into some of the offseason winners on the defensive side of the football, and then we'll end it with some of the losers on defense as well. I'm going to start here at number 5, and I'm going to go with linebacker Amari Gainer. And I think Gainer's doing a lot of the right things this offseason. He is surrounding himself with the right people. That's all I'm going to say. One person he's been hanging out with a ton is Maxx Crosby. And when you surround yourself with the right people, the most important people in that organization, let me just say that the most important people in the organization are taking notice to it. This is also a weak linebacker room. I'm not spitting anything that's out of the realm of the truth. I know the Raiders signed Landon Roberts and the Raiders signed Devin White. Spytek said White can play weak side linebacker. I totally disagree with that statement. But the fact of when you look at the skill set that Devin White and Landon Roberts have, I would say it's a lot closer to somebody like a Tommy Eichenberg, like a Kanai Malga. Then I look at the outside linebacker group and Amari Burney and Amari Gainer. To me, I think Gainer's a better linebacker. I think Burney's a better athlete, and Burney's going to be used probably a little bit more on special teams. For that reason, give me Amari Gainer to be a winner and a sneaky person to keep an eye on this offseason, especially in the preseason. Let's go to number 4 here. It's going to be Trey Taylor, free safety. And this might surprise some people out there that he's on this list just because we haven't really heard too much about him. But the Raiders do still clearly, and I mean clearly, need a free safety. I don't know if I would even consider Trey Taylor, in all honesty, a free safety or a strong safety. He's kind of a little bit of a mix in there. He was a Jim Thorpe Award winner, but also Trey Taylor had a top 30 visit with the Bucs and John Spytek last season, and he fits that culture, right? He fits the culture that this Raiders team is trying to build, where I want guys that show up first and leave last. I want guys that are putting in that time, that effort, and everything that it takes to be a good pros pro. That's what Trey Taylor is. He's got a lot of good NFL ties. He's got a lot of people in his corner, and because of some of the other moves that the Raiders made, or let's face it, did not make, that helps out Trey Taylor a lot, and he's a winner. Let's go to number 3. I'm going to go Jonah Laulu at defensive tackle. There are some people that I talk to that think that Laulu right now would actually be the starting DT next to Christian Wilkins if the season started now. I don't necessarily buy into that I still think that it's Adam Butler because of the 3-year deal that they gave him, and the Raiders this offseason have done a really smart job giving 3-year deals to people that they view long-term. I believe that he's probably more of the defensive tackle 3. Laulu also had a top 30 visit with the Bucs and John Spytek, so I do think that there's a little bit of a connection in that regard, but also the signing of Leki Fotu. And when you decide to replace John Jenkins with Leki, that tells me in my mind that this organization believes in Jonah Laulu a lot more than what maybe some of the NFL people out there believe. So because they believe, he's number 3 here on the list. Let's go to number 2, and this is maybe the one that could backfire the most from what I'm about to say. And I'm going to put Decamerion Richardson on here as a winner on defense because despite him not being drafted by this regime, if you were to tell me this cornerback is the size of Decamerion Richardson, long, athletic, I think it fits the exact mold that you're looking for or what Pete Carroll essentially is looking for. The Raiders let Nate Hobbs walk, and they ended up cutting Jack Jones. You better have a lot of confidence in your secondary. And I know the Raiders went out and signed an Eric Stokes, and I think it also shows how confident they are in Jacorian Bennett and how confident they are in Darnay Holmes. But I think it also has to show a little bit of confidence in Richardson, who is an extremely athletic player. And I am hoping the leap that Bennett made from rookie season to sophomore season is the leap that Richardson's about to make from rookie year to sophomore season. And if he does it, he is a really good athlete. Worst case, he's probably just a gunner on your special teams unit. So like I said earlier on today's show, I'm going to ask you again, who's the Raiders' biggest winner this offseason on the defensive side of the football? And I think my answer is going to surprise some people out there because a lot of the names that I've been bringing up are names that are important names, and I don't want to take anything away. But the name that I'm going to say right now that is the biggest winner on the defensive side of the football, and I'll be real, I don't even think it's all that close. It's Maxx Crosby, and Maxx Crosby is clearly the biggest winner because, well, he just signed a brand new extension for about a week. He was the highest paid non-NFL quarterback in the National Football League. That's important, that extension. That extension also ties him in with Pete Carroll, John Spytek for the long term. When Crosby was asked some of his things that he wanted this offseason, he wanted to try to keep the defensive line intact, and that was regarding like Malcolm Kuntz, Adam Butler, because he said, every single year we get a brand new defensive line, brand new, I got to meet new people, brand new. So what did the Raiders do? They gave Patrick Graham a raise. Thank you, Maxx Crosby. They ended up keeping Rob Leonard as a top priority. Thank you, Maxx Crosby. And then also the defensive line, a lot of the pieces that they kept were because those are guys that Max wanted. So if you want to honestly hear who's the biggest winner on defense for the Raiders and got basically everything he asked for, he's number 98. But I also think he deserves it. Final thing that we're going to talk about here on the show is some of the losers on the defensive side of the football. And this list was actually a lot more difficult for me to put together than I originally thought. Before I get into those names, I got to show some love to the Noti gang. These 5 people here were the very first 5 people to comment on the video that I dropped on April 7th. So shout out to Albert Ramirez, my man Sucker Free, Ricardo 1990, Know the Slokin, and Song. I'm just going to call you Songs, man. Thank you for being a part of the Noti gang. And if you're like, Mitch, what the hell is the Noti gang? You got to be subscribed. You got to click that notification bell. Click all. And when I drop a video, the first people down in the comments section, that's how I know you're a real one. Shout out to the Noti gang. Let's go to some of the losers here on defense. And I'm going to put up Tyree Wilson. I think a lot of y'all know Tyree is my guy. Chugs is giving me a thumbs down on this one. But I got to be able to just stay honest to myself. And I got to be able to do this show with no hard feelings in it. And I say that because Wilson's getting ready to go on his 3rd regime in 3 seasons. For somebody like Tyree, I think he needs a little bit more continuity and just something that's constant in his life in terms of football. Devin White signing, I'll admit it. I actually think the Devin White signing could take away from Wilson a little bit more than what people think just because the word resurgence was used for Devin White from John Spytek. And when I think of resurgence, I think the only way that that's going to happen is if they use him more as an athlete, use him as an edge, which could take away a little bit from Tyree. Also, a lot of Jalen Walker at number 6 rumors, which is not a good sign for Tyree Wilson. Let's go to number 2 here, and it's going to be Tommy Eichenberg. And I hate the fact that I have Eichenberg on this list, but to me, I had to put a linebacker on this list because Devin White was signed, Landon Roberts was signed, and out of the linebackers that we have on our roster, no disrespect to Kanai Malga, the one that I think has impacted the most by those two signings is Eichenberg. Another player that, again, wasn't drafted by this regime. I know the Silver and Black really tried to keep Robert Spillane, but they didn't make it as big of a priority as Malcolm Kuntz, as big of a priority as Adam Butler. And Eichenberg's kind of that Robert Spillane feel of a linebacker. And just because the Raiders have been linked to so many different linebacking draft targets, which they're going to end up taking a guy, maybe it's in round 3, maybe it's in round 4. Hell, there's been some reports that it could be in round 2. And if the Raiders end up trading back, that's just more bad news for Eichenberg, somebody that was drafted in the 5th round by that old regime. To me, though, the number one, the biggest loser on the defensive side of the football is somebody who has found himself on this list multiple times in years past that I've done this video. It's defensive tackle Matthew Butler. And my biggest concerns with Butler are, for one, I don't know if he's going to make the roster, therefore that is a big concern for him. Wasn't drafted by this regime, and, I heard from a really good source that the biggest concern from Butler is not only is it the athletic ability, it's does this guy love football? And anytime I hear does he love football, especially with Pete Carroll and Spytek, that bell's going to ring off in my head and go, well, that's going to be a bit of a concern. The fact that the Raiders made Adam Butler a priority, that was really big. They have a lot of confidence in Jonah Laulu. They went out and they still got Leki Fotu, where the Leki Fotu signing to me was, we are really still not confident in the depth that we have at defensive tackle. And I think that goes back to players like a Matthew Butler, where I would say Fotu's above him. Jonah Laulu's definitely above him. Hell, I think Zach Carter is above Matthew Butler. And then you got Christian Wilkins. Tyree Wilson's going to get some work in there. You got Adam Butler. Hell, the Raiders have a meeting today with Mason Graham at defensive tackle. That tells me that even the bottom of the bottom level guys for defensive tackle for the Raiders, not a lot of confidence in all those dudes. So because there's not a lot of confidence and you question the work ethic from Butler, that reason alone is going to make him the biggest loser on this list for me from this offseason. But I'll be honest, it was hard to find some of the losers this offseason for the Silver and Black. Real quick here, we're going to go through the winners again. I got Tre Tucker, Jordan Meredith, DJ Glaze, Brock Bowers, Jakobi Meyers. If there's any names that you think that I'm forgetting, or Mitch, how the hell did you forget this guy? Please let me know down below. Some of the losers on offense: Dylan Parham, Thayer Munford, Zamir White. Then the winners on the defensive side of the football: Amari Gainer, Trey Taylor, Jonah Laulu, Decamerion Richardson, Maxx Crosby. And to put a bow on this show, Tyree Wilson, Tommy Eichenberg, Matthew Butler are the biggest losers. Friendly reminder that Jeremy Chugs and I, we're going to be going live today, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. If you're a real one and not a loser, make sure you pull up.